Oh, what's going on, YouTube? It's the Kid Chris here. I don't want to show you too much of what's going on over here. I didn't know you guys could see money and everything. It's a lot lower than what it was. But I've been fucking grinding the shit out of this fucking game here recently because I'm about to be losing my Game Pass, which means that this game's gonna have to take a back seat for a while. So I'm gonna try to like knock out some videos and stuff like that for you guys. But our goal is to try to get one of every building and stuff like that. So we're just gonna grind through this. It's gonna be a lot of time lapse, so you guys can watch what happens and everything. But let's just show you exactly what we're dealing with here. So I've done some things. I'm gonna keep this going so I can continue to make money. But yeah, we got ourselves. Last time we got this set up and everything. We got something else, little bits and pieces here and there, and then these two things. I think we only had this. I don't think we had this one at the end of the last video. But since then, I got this added on. If I hover over this road here, you can see there's a road under the lake. Let's take a quick peek under here. Is it still flooded? Yep, it's still flooded. They just drive through it with no care. But we got a train yard set up and everything, cargo train, and then a passenger train station going through. See the backup here because I can't build extra rails there, so they can just continuously go. So I had to try to make it to where these trains could go as long as possible in here. So I got dual tracks from here to here, and then it's a single track going down to somewhere in here, and it splits up into these two tracks, which then entails double tracks going from here. But yeah, okay. Other than that, we got ourselves a harbor for people, which is basically a cruise kind of thing. And like it's slowly gaining popularity. I think the most I've ever seen on one of these boats is like 32. But then I got myself an airport, which I had to take a small loan out of $3 million. It's whatever, we'll pay it back. But yeah, we got our passenger side and then our cargo side, which is over here. Cargo side, passenger side, and then I just got it not too long ago, so it's still trying to upgrade itself into a better airline. But like most of these are pretty low. Oh, I didn't know you could see. So like this has 8 passengers sitting there. I'm gonna guess the more the dot fills up, the more passengers there are. Let's see how here. Oh no, I don't know that. But like that's 2.8 kgs of stuff. That's a lot. I think that's shipping out and back in. So hopefully we can get everything. But as you can tell, I'm hurting pretty good. So the reason why I took out the loan is because I had such a good increase of taxation and everything else that I was doing pretty good. Let's drop this back down to 13%. See if maybe we can bring back some companies, because what happens is these companies think I'm charging them too much on tax, and they leave. And I drop the taxes back down, and they come back, and then my profits go out the roof. Like I was making positive 38 to 40 before I took out that loan, and now I'm kind of screwed. Because now I have no money to pay anything. Let's drop them back down to 10. But yeah, we're gonna go time lapse. I'm gonna mute the sound because I'm gonna go back to watching my show while you guys are watching me do this. But yeah, this is the Kid Chris. I'll catch you at the end of the video. Alright, future self. I hope you enjoyed editing or trying to get 4 hours and 18 minutes to fit into at least an hour long minimum hour long video. Hopefully get it down to like 45 minutes so you guys don't have to really sit through everything. And then chopping and cutting a sound to loop because I'm not putting different sounds into this one, so yeah. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Oh, we're doing pretty good now compared to how we started. Negative like 100,000. Now we're positive 100,000. There for a little bit we were almost positive 200,000. But yeah, we got a whole new district over here. We got all this. We got our airport fixed and everything. Got the solar power going. Another incendiary thing because we were just not pushing out enough. And then we still have this air pollution, which is kind of annoying because it's because of right here is pushing that shit over there. It's being a bit. I might just do something like this. That'll fix it. Hopefully. Hopefully it'll fix it. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. If you're still watching this at the end, hit the like button, subscribe. And yeah, this is the Kid Chris. I'm getting out of here.